day 4 of lockdown today, and how are you, Adrian?
Time flies when you're having fun, hey? So we're on the other side of the Moody's weekend. We know how the rand has responded, and we've seen the equity market and the bond market respond. So here we are, live in downgrade territory.
And we released a note today on the Moody's downgrade in which you spoke about how and how long it can take a country to regain their credit rating. Can you elaborate?
Yeah, look, first there's been a lot of sort of complaining and hand-wringing about the timing of the downgrade, and you can make absolutely no bones about it or no mistaking it. The timing is terrible. But on Twitter, Tetelo Kambula, who I'm connected with on Twitter, says it's like blaming the mirror for a bad haircut, which I think is absolutely spot on. The question from here is, once this impact works its way into the market, what are South Africa's prospects of finding our way out of this situation? And if we take the experience of South Korea, we could get there in record time and do it in less than 12 months. Or we could take our sweet time about it and do an Indonesia on the crowd, which takes 20 years. The average time for countries to get from sub-investment grade back to investment grade is about 7 years. I would be stunned, surprised if we did it in South Korean time. I wouldn't put any money on that prospect. In fact, in the South Korean circumstance, one of the ways in which they got out of the debt noose is South Koreans handed in gold jewelry, and they collected $2 billion of South Korean gold jewelry to contribute to their to paying down their debt. And by contrast, at the other end of the spectrum, you've got the experiences of Indonesia, Argentina, who've been pushed into lower categories and taken the better part of 20 years to get there. Cynically, I'm of the view that South Africa has not showered itself in glory in terms of delivering on policy, and that we look like we're setting ourselves up for many years, not a few years.
You spoke to Tash yesterday about savings, and you've written much in the past about how personal savings can contribute to national economic growth. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, look, I think this is one of the tragedies of South Africa's circumstances. We've got all of the equipment, we've got all of the resources that we need. We've just used them poorly. So by way of example, our very sophisticated financial system has been used to extend credit instead of being used to build financial capability. So financial inclusion can take the form of lending you money to go and buy consumer goods, or financial inclusion could take the form of bringing you in as a new income earner into a savings and investment pool. South Africa has used the first option and has squandered, the second option. We've got all of the resources, all of the infrastructure we need to build a saving society. People often think that you need massive salaries and huge incomes to become a saver and in turn an investor. But every single country that is rich today was once poor. And to go back to our South Korean example, rewind 40 years, South Korea was one of the lowest income countries in the world. Today it's one of the highest income countries. And they got there by establishing a savings culture, and their household savings rate reached as much as 30%. So how do you get to a 30% savings rate? You establish the habit of saving. And whether it's a rand, 10 rand, 100 rand, we have the capacity to save. And once we've established that habit, we then start to build this into a culture. The savings pool grows, and those savings start to fund investment in infrastructure, investment in new business, and 30, 40 years on, you've got the spectacular economy that builds Samsung, Hyundai, Kia, and other global brands.
We've seen corporate SA already really stepping up in this time of crisis, from Distel producing lotion, sanitizing lotion, to Deloitte and EY assisting government in managing their business Marshall Plan. I know you've been part of some of conversations like this. What can you tell us?
You know, when we started this vlog, my comment to you was, these are really tough times, and we've got to square ourselves up for some extremely hard yards. From then, which seems like a different year already, but from then to now, some of the numbers have started to land, and some of those numbers are truly quite harrowing. And we make reference to this in the note that we've released this morning. It looks like economic growth is a -5% number. It looks like the budget deficit is at least 10% of GDP. And there were references to the IMF being called in over the weekend. That there could be some silver linings in all of this, as much as these are daunting numbers and prospects in each aspect. Some of the silver lining that might lie here is the way in which we partner and collaborate and use network, and that we turn the crisis into opportunity. MedTech, we're starting to see doctors consult widely using digital. ID verification. I was on a call with a client this morning who said that one of his customers in ID verification business was looking after 1,000 queries a month. They're now looking after 20,000 queries a day in digital identification verification. And lots of South African companies. You've made reference to some, and you've been looking at a couple of others.
We've got Netcare and Vitality, for example, who are helping with the testing and tracking and tracing.
Yeah, and I saw over the weekend 3D printing of protective gear, as well as Louise van Rijn on Twitter has put together a food delivery program using WhatsApp network, and to take food to homes that don't have access to stores.
Oh, no, it's amazing and very heartening that even in the midst of all these challenges, there are solutions. So thank you, Adrian. Thank you for your time, and we'll chat again tomorrow.
Yeah, before you run away, Jess, if I could just encourage people, quite a few people have started connecting to you and me, talking to us on LinkedIn and Twitter. We're talking to each other, but we'd love to talk to you also. If you've got questions, if there's ideas, if there's arguments, if there's disagreement, if there's uncertainty, please give us a shout on social media, and we'll pick up the questions here.
Thanks, Adrian. We'll chat tomorrow.
Cheers, Jess.
Bye.